This is Scary Terry's Saturday Nightmare from Rock 94.7.
I'm Terry Stevens. Welcome to 13 Questions on Scary Terry's Saturday Nightmare, where we sit down with the men and women who make the metal that you love and pick their brains. Tonight's guest is Martin Van Drunen, lead vocalist of Dutch death metalers Asphyx. They're releasing their 8th album, Deathhammer, on February 28th. Martin, thanks for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thank you very much, too, and it's a pleasure. Thank you.
Now, Martin, I can't think of a more badass name for a metal album than Deathhammer. What's the story with the title?
Well, thank you. Yeah, that was more or less the thing that I had in mind as well. Like, okay, if you want to make an album and that draws someone's attention and with a great name, then it's that, and everybody liked it. Well, the idea behind it, I mean, it's of course like a fictional name. You know, the word doesn't really exist, but there's been like books in the past that were translated called like Witchhammer or something, and I think there were other ones, but there were basically like books and more books, kind of a guidance or that showed it showed people like or taught people how to do certain things. So Deathhammer, the idea behind it is like, okay, this is the book that says how to write decent death metal as it was meant to be. And that's a little bit of the idea behind it.
Well, what we've heard so far has definitely illustrated that point. Now, Martin, 2009's Death the Brutal Way, that was kind of a reunion of sorts for you and the band. Did having that album under your belt make Deathhammer any easier to write and record?
Actually, it did. Because when in retrospective, I think with Death the Brutal Way, the big problem is, well, you never could see it off Paul. I mean, you never showed it. But I think for him as a guitar player, and then like replacing Eric Daniels, who's always has been like the riff master of Asphyx, must have been like a huge burden on his shoulders and not really easy. But like I said, you can never tell. But after he made Death the Brutal Way, because all the riffings are his, he's like responsible for all the riff stuff. I think, and reactions of our fans were all positive. I think this kind of a burden fell off his shoulders, so he could start working way more relaxed and way more laid back on Deathhammer, because now he knew that people liked the stuff that he was doing with Asphyx. And for us, of course, that was the same case. So we worked on it, way more laid back and way more relaxed. And it was not a matter of time, but just we just took the time that we wanted, and just worked easily with our own with our own tempo on it. And I think it's the best for a band way to work on an album, and not having any pressure or deadlines or schedules or whatever that you can that you have to keep. I mean, it was just perfect. So no, I mean, for us more or less right now the question is like, how the hell are we going to top the Deathhammer? Because that's for us like probably the best album that Asphyx has ever made. But that's every band will say that after his last release. But for us, like, this is really a thing that, because I never had a feeling in my gut that I had when one evening I was listening to Final Mix, and I called Bob and I told him, like, listen, I have this strange kind of feeling in my gut about this album that I never had with any album before, and I made some over the years,
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder where that feeling came from, and maybe there's this kind of special kind of feeling about it. Don't know what it is. It's just hard to explain. You have it in your gut or you don't have it,
Martin, you played bass in Asphyx for a while, as well as in a few other projects. This time around, Alwyn Zur plays on Deathhammer. Now, do you prefer to leave the bass duties to another band member?
Yeah, I do, because throughout the years, I developed myself more or less as only a vocalist. And you're not just a vocalist, but you're also like, the front man live, that is. So you're the one that interacts with the crowd. You have that opportunity, and I just use it, and I really love it. I mean, it's just fantastic to do that. And if you have a bass, I mean, you can interact with the crowd, but there's not so much more, not so much time, and of course, like, nobody pays that much attention to you as to like the main man of the band who stands in the center. Not that I am feeling that I'm the main man, but a vocalist is supposed to be that. So. No, I'm very happy with the role that I have right now. I'm like a fish in water, really. In the beginning, in Pesitlence, I was more or less like forced to play bass because they couldn't find a bass player. So all of a sudden they came up to me like, okay, you've got 2 hands free, you just f***ing do it. And then, oops, sorry.
Don't sweat it, man. We'll fix it in post. Go ahead, though.
So 1 month later, I was standing on stage with these fellas doing and I felt really uncomfortable because everybody's looking at you like, look at this moron, like he can't play bass. So, but okay, I had the talent of playing it, yeah, that's for sure. But it's always, it's not an obstacle. But the thing is that you always have to focus on 2 things at the same time. It's either your vocals and your bass. Of course, you can do it, but it's way more better if you can give something for just one thing at the same time. Yeah, I think that goes for everything.
Okay.
In life in general, it's better to focus on one thing at the same time and do that perfectly, and then take on the other thing. And it's with playing bass and being a vocalist. I think it's pretty much the same.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that applies to things outside of music. I mean, there's no way I could write a radio commercial and cook dinner at the same time. It just wouldn't happen.
Exactly. That's a little bit the same kind of comparison that you can make. Yeah,
for sure,
definitely.
Now, you guys hail from the Netherlands, so I have to ask, how much Amsterdam coffee shop weed did you guys smoke before coming up with the title as the Magma Mammoth Rises?
Nothing.
Okay, but seriously, though, what's the story with that title?
It came from, the idea behind it is that I saw, I don't know if it was a documentary or something, about this slumbering mega volcano that you have in a national, Yellowstone Park there.
Mm-hmm.
And the scientists already, giving out alarms that they hear something and they can actually measure movement under there. And if that beast of a volcano ever erupts, then there's like a mega catastrophe coming out. And that was a little bit, so I called it not a volcano, but like a magma mammoth, because it's such a huge one. I mean, it's not normal.
I've never been so glad to live so far away from Yellowstone Park. Yeah, it's not a bad deal.
I can imagine that. So, I like to, play around a little bit also with song titles and with, something that draws people's attention, and so I came up with that with the fellas, and they really liked it. I said, "Yeah, this is a good damn title."
It's a great title. It jumped out at me right away. I'm like, "All right, there's a story behind this." Yeah, for sure.
I think it had more a little bit to do with how alcohol works than weed, because we're not like really a weed smoking band. I mean, I used to do that in the past, but yeah, well, we've had those youth days behind us more or less.
Martin, Asphyx's lineup has been in a state of flux for some time. I mean, you were away from the band for well over a decade at one point. What made you decide to perform under the Asphyx banner again?
That was basically not the pressure, but the trying of the Partisan Festival to get us there, because they had this kind of festival visitors poll of their festival, and Partisan is more or less the biggest extremer kind of festival in Germany. And it was every year the same, where people asked for, we want Asphyx to play. So they kept on trying and mailing us all the time, like, how about, can't we get you guys together just to play on the Partisan Festival for one time? And we were like, no, it's impossible, because, it's just impossible to get everyone together, and especially with Eric, because, he will not play guitar again with Asphyx. And until I bumped against Paul, like, coincidentally. Well, it was on a Hill of Bullets meeting, really, and then he was a little bit drunk, and he started boasting a little bit, like, oh, well, I think I can do the job, And that's where I called Bob, like, hey, I might have found a man. And then afterwards, that's what Paul told me later on, but then, so Bob called him, and he was like, oh, was that me who said that to Martin? Must have been a little bit really drunk. But then, yeah, he took it on, and it worked out perfectly, and most important thing is that he came very close to Eric's sound, and that was for us very important, because we knew like no one can replace him when it comes to the sound of his guitars, because they're so bombastic and they're so massive. Like that was the main problem. So at that time we asked Wannes, because he had been in the band before that too, and then we were all of a sudden we were finding ourselves there on that huge stage and performing for 10,000 people that were completely mad. And that's where the whole little ball started rolling. We didn't even know what was going on, and we enjoyed what we were doing, and from there on, we just kept on going.
So that leads to my next question. Why do you think that Bob your drummer, has maintained the most consistent membership in the band? He's only dropped out once. I mean, everyone else, kind of comes and goes. I mean, is he a glutton for punishment?
No, but actually, we call him all, like just in band circles. I mean, we call him always the boss because he's the founding member, and he started the band. It was his idea, and he wanted to have this band. It was back in the days where we were just trading tapes. I mean, I was already in Pesitlence, and he was a younger kid, but we had the same kind of interest in death metal. So we traded tapes on the square of his school where he was going to. So that was, and then all of a sudden he came up to me and goes, "Oh, I have a band on my own." I go, "Really?" So so he's the founding member, and he was a bit disappointed afterwards. That's the reason why he left, and Eric just still wanted to continue. So he recorded with two other fellas the Asphyx album, which is still a good one. But Bob was just like really disappointed at that time, and then he returned and said, "Well, Asphyx is still my kind of baby, and I just keep on continuing." I mean, right now, not just only for Bob, but with this lineup, and if everybody else that leaves is irreplaceable, because the atmosphere and the whole thing inside the band, the chemistry, everything is just simply perfect.